This is from just a short excerpt from my story. So this is just from the beginning. Okay. That's my song. The voice that reached my ear materialized from seemingly out of nowhere. I looked around for its owner and saw an elderly lady seated in an armchair to the right of mine. Fine wrinkles etched her cocoa complexion skin, though youthful beauty still shone through her aged face. High cheekbones reached up to brown eyes that bore the hint of a smile, and her silver gray hair was swept up in a neat bun. Passing time had not ravaged her features. I continued staring at her, not certain as whether she was speaking to me or just speaking. Pardon me, I asked when she spoke again. What's playing? That's my song. The velvety voice that flowed through the visitors' lounge of Forest Brook Retirement and Assisted Living Residences came from a portable CD player that stood on a side table next to her chair. I cocked my head to one side while listening to the singer. Her voice was like Billie Holiday's, rich and bluesy. I returned my gaze toward the lady who was quietly singing the soulful melody. Walking through, gonna walk on through. She opened her eyes and her gaze met mine. A smile spread across her face.
Oh, wow. I love it. Sorry, I was reading along.
Oh, okay.
That is wonderful. I was... Today on Call Me Momo, we have one of the authors from Walking Through and Other Stories, a collection of timeless and intergenerational stories featured on CBC's radio's Here and Now Book Club. The authors are Francine Fleming, Maria Jemmott, Shirley Merith, Manjit Singh, and Paula Smellie. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Today, our guest is Francine Fleming of the title of the book, Walking Through. And I was waiting for more, actually. Oh, wonderful. I love it. I love the story. Dahlia, Walking Through. So it's so wonderful. Thank you for joining the show. So what... Can you tell us a bit of your history with writing and when you started writing, your interest?
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to be a writer from a young age, but I never really took it seriously. And then I had some time on my hands at one period of my life, and I decided I wanted to get more serious about writing. I wanted to write actually, and I've been working on this, and maybe we can talk a bit more about it later, but I'm actually writing a fiction based on my mother's childhood.
Oh, wow.
I started writing about that, but I thought I'd like to just hone my craft and learn more about writing. So I joined a writing club, a writing group, and it was pretty large group, about I think 12. Started out with about 12 of us. After getting into that group a bit, I decided that I wanted to do more, so I decided to enroll in the University of Toronto into their creative writing program. So I did that, and at the time Walking Through was published, I was just about to complete my certificate, but I have completed it since then.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how was that, the course? Did you enjoy it? Was it?
I did. I enjoyed it. It was intensive. it was all online. So there was no, and this was even before COVID, it was all online.
Oh, wow.
So there was no in-class interaction at all.
Oh, wow.
So it was good in that sense because I could do it while I was working.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a lot of work, and it took me about 3 years to complete because it was part-time.
Yeah.
And it was a certificate course, so
Mm-hmm.
I obtained a certificate.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So how long did Walking Through take to write?
Well, what happened was a group of us broke off from the main writing group. So those of us who wanted to get involved in this project, and this was opened up to the whole group, but only 5 of us decided to do it.
Oh,
And
wow.
the other authors that you mentioned, and I have a short excerpt or just a short intro of each story.
Okay.
So we broke off from the group for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And focused just on this anthology. And so from conception to completion, it took us about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, because there was each of us coming up with a story idea, writing, several drafts, editing, and then hiring an editor to get it ready to go to the publisher, publishing, promotion. So yeah, about 2 years from inception to completion.
Wow. So so did you all collaborate on you helped each other, or gave each other ideas? You worked with each other for each of your stories?
Yes, we everyone came up with their own story idea.
Right.
And then we all gave group feedback on each story. So there were several iterations of each story.
Wow. That is so amazing. Women, 5 women working together. That's so amazing to have that support, and you did it.
The accomplishment. And the stories are all about, they all have women at the center of the stories. All the main protagonists are women, and different stages of life and different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm. Some of your inspirations for your story, was there anything what you drew upon, or was it just purely?
I started, my initial concept was thinking about when a person is aged out of their career and their home, what happens, how do they think back on their life. And so from that idea, I came up with the Dahlia character, who was a jazz singer, who was quite a successful jazz singer.
Yes.
And then, something happens in her life that unfortunately ended her career, but she ends up in this retirement / assisted living facility. And then she meets this younger woman, this writer, Megan, and they both get to learn from each other there. So the inspiration was music, jazz. I like jazz, and that aging process of each other, your home, because it also, Megan's father is also in this facility, which is how Megan came to be there and met Dahlia.
And the story too, with I don't want to give too much away, but even her own relationship with her husband, and all that whole process through that. There are so many dynamics to it. Even I don't want to give too much away, but even because they were even asking it in the beginning of the story too, when she was kind of explaining that she was adopted and, you know, things like that. And just there's so much in there in the story. Like it's so dynamic and all these different, you know, things to
there are themes, I guess, woven through the story. It's that life is like that, right? There's so many themes woven through our lives. So when you write, it's sort of, you know, that translates well to a story.
Yeah.
Different themes.
I did want to find out, I was curious to know, why was it your story as the title of the book? What was that? How was that? How did you decide that? I'm so bad at decisions. I can't even decide what to have for dinner.
That was a difficult to come up with a name. Paula, one of the authors, had an idea for a name, but our editor didn't think it fit.
Oh.
The anthology as a whole.
Right.
And then so we wanted to name it Buckets of Wonderment, which is Manjit's story.
Okay.
But Manjit preferred that we not name it after her story because she wanted to develop her story further, like maybe develop it into a full novel. So she didn't want it to.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to ask you, was there any inspiration from Belize in the name of the jazz club, the Half Moon? Was it the Half Moon Club? Because you know what I was thinking of? Half Moon Key.
Yeah. It wasn't completely inspired by that, but I just like that. I just like that name, Half Moon.
Yes.
After Manjit decided that she didn't want her story title to be used, then the editor thought that we should use mine because it sort of described the theme of the whole anthology. So walking through, because each character really is walking through you know, a catalyst in their life, or you know, some event that sort of turns their life on a different course, kind of thing. And so we all agreed we'd go with that, and I was okay with it. So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it. Did you want to read, or did you find anything?
I can read a little bit of each story.
Okay.
So the first story is Buckets of Wonderment, and that's by Manjit Singh. And it's a story about a young lower-caste girl. It takes place in Jalandhar, India. So while pondering the facilities afforded to the bigger people, Naina, which is the girl, dares to dream beyond what destiny may offer. And here's a short excerpt from her story. Lumps of coal that continue to burn within the tandoor oven cast a soft orange glow across the rooftop veranda beneath an endless pitch black sky. Every now and then, bursts of light would flicker and crackle from within the clay vessel like tiny shooting stars, dazzling with their sight and sound, providing an inexplicable comfort despite a lack of knowledge of what the future would bring. So that's from Buckets of Wonderment.
Lovely.
And, we have High Trade, which is by Shirley, Merith. And so High Trade is about her protagonist is Camille, and she's a rising star in the world of advertising. So while recovering from an unexpected breakup, she finds herself caught in the center of a family conflict. So this is just a short excerpt from the beginning of her story. Camille read the name tags of each flight attendant as she boarded flight 275 from San Francisco, heading to London, England. She focused on a young bouncy brunette named Candace with the toothy smile who looked like she couldn't save anyone in an emergency. How old is she anyway? 18? Things were not off to a good start. It was bad enough that the flight left late at night, but to be locked into a big metal flying machine for over 10 hours would be pure punishment. Walking slowly down the aisle, her eyes skirted from side to side, searching for seat 26C. Once found, she struggled to shove her carry-on bag into the overhead compartment. Let me help you with that. The offer came from a smooth-sounding, insistent male voice. Camille turned to the side to see where the voice came from. So that's a little teaser there.
That is a teaser.
A little teaser. Yes. And then next we have is, next one is a December to Remember. This is written by Maria Jemmott. And her story is about Trisha Spencer, who is a divorced empty nester to visit family in New York during the Christmas holidays. And while there, she comes face to face with her biggest fear. So I'll just read. And her biggest fear might not be what you think, but when you read the story, it'll all come together. So I'll just read an excerpt from that. Her thoughts raced again. Something wonderful and unbelievable was happening to her, and she wondered if Carlos could sense it. She would have given anything to be able to read his thoughts. After the music stopped, she secretly longed for an encore performance. As though reading her thoughts, Carlos gently took her hand in his, and the warm flow of excitement again rushed through her. Her happy heart refused to be quiet. Pure joy, love, and happiness entered into her body, fed her starved heart, and quenched her soul. They remained hand in hand, just taking in the entertainment and the excitement of the evening. Moments later, as the crowds began to disperse, Carlos placed her in front of him and with both hands around her waist, guided her through the crowded square without saying a word. They were leaving, but she did not want the evening to end, not just yet.
Yeah. Ooh.
And then the final story in the collection called Bonekeeper, and this one is by Paula Smellie. So this one is a little bit different. It features an elderly Inuit woman, and she was raised since birth by a French-Canadian couple. And so in this story, Suzette is her name. Suzette goes on an extraordinary journey to show what family means to her. So I'll just read a bit from that. So in this scene, Suzette is in the hospital. She's in her hospital room, and she's visited by a young scientist and Strauss. So this is the person that's featured in this short scene. Strauss shifted in his seat and adjusted his glasses. Suzette put down her teacup and frowned. She hadn't discussed Wolf Point with anyone in over 20 years. The northern medicine people had showed her some grainy black and white photographs of a barren patch of tundra, hemmed in by rocky outcrops on one side and the bank of a placid river on the other. The interview came with an offer to fly her up there for a photo op, but she had panicked and lied to the northern medicine people that she was afraid of flying. For many months after that, Wolf Point had been for her the elephant in every room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
these are amazing.
Yeah. So the theme, I don't know if you could tell from just those little excerpts, but the theme, the theme that's woven through the whole anthology is just human connection, and just how sometimes connections can just change the course of our lives or send us on a different journey than what we had expected.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the theme that's woven
Yeah.
through
Wow.
the book. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, wow. Do you have anything else in the works currently at all?
Yeah, I'm
Or
still working on that project that actually brought me deeper into writing, and it's a fictionalized, is inspired by the stories I heard from my mother.
yes.
So it's around her childhood
Mm-hmm.
in Monkey River, which is in southern Belize. Yeah.
Yes.
And
I love the Belize stories.
yeah, me too. I love the Belize stories. And my mother's story is quite interesting because my mother's mother died when my mother was only about 2 or 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my mother never knew her
Mm-hmm.
own mother. And so this story is sort of like a quest of her trying to get to know the mother that she never knew, just
Wow.
through things from her family. And that was her impetus for wanting to find out about her mother, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
she was 3. She
Wow.
really wouldn't have known.
Yeah. You don't want to give too much away. This was before Walking Through. You started.
Yes.
Wow.
I've been
Okay.
working for years, and then when we started working on Walking Through, I put that on pause because I kind of wanted to take a little break from it and then come back to it with fresh eyes.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, let me ask, where can people find the book?
Okay.
Walking Through anthology.
It's available on Amazon. So you just have to search the title Walking Through and Other Stories, which is the full title of the book. Okay. And it's also available on Kobo. And
so
okay.
Yeah. So is I like to ask this question. I know it seems so typical, but sometimes it's so great. Is there anything that you would tell your 20-year-old self? Anything you've learned along the way, or just is there any words that you would just tell your 20-year-old self now that you know?
Yeah, I would once you find your passion, to take it more seriously, because I think from a young age, once you discover something that you love to do, do it and do whatever you need to do to improve your craft, whatever it might be, whether it's writing or painting or photography or whatever, singing, do whatever you need to do. I would have taken courses earlier, and so yeah, and maybe try to find a writing network too at that time. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. What about any words of advice to up and coming writers, people who are thinking about writing, or any words you'd give them?
I would say, if you're interested in writing, try to find a writing group, because the support is very important, because writing can be a very lonely time. So try to find a writing group. Check with your local library, because usually groups are posted there, or check online for one in your area, because you get support, you get feedback, you get inspired by the other writers, and then you could always also get resources, learn about resources through a group. And another other advice I would give aspiring writers is to try to write every day if you can. Even just even if it's just for half an hour, even if it's just for 15 minutes,
Yeah.
write every day
Mm-hmm.
and read a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Read different kinds of books too. Like, don't read only from the same genre, even if you're not into sci-fi or
Mm-hmm.
fantasy, whatever, read from those genres too, because you learn something from every book,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I
Hmm.
would say those are at the three top
Wow.
at my list for aspiring writers.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Wow, thank you. That is a great top 3 list. That's
Thank you.
amazing. You know what? I never think about that because sometimes I do get not in a rut of what I'm reading, but
Mhm.
it's true because I haven't read a sci-fi book in ages. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so maybe just to kind of get into that wanting to read again, because sometimes I get in a rut and then find I'm not reading, or just put a book down and it's kind of hard to pick it up again or something. But wow, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. So thank you. As a reader, I mind you, I don't have the patience for writing. But that's interesting that you did say too. It can be a lonely place because really it's just you on your own, within your mind and in silence, really, so wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I loved the story.
Thank you
It's
very
so
much.
great. Maybe we can plan in the future, we can have some of the other authors if they have time to have like a group discussion. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me and have that discussion and give some advice, and looking forward to the story that you're almost completed, and just good luck with everything.
Thank you very much, Lola. Thank you for having me. And
yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
And I appreciate you promoting me and other writers.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much.